My eyes here, Jay. See, look at that shirt and the eyes.
I gotta order
Happy.
mine.
Yeah, dude, it came in like 4 days. It was great. Hey, we're live. Just talking about the new swag, new shirt. Went daily. I went with the forest green, as I was telling Jason off air here, to match the eyes. Ghost, week 7. What's up?
It's the bye week slate. That's what it is.
It's pretty tough, man. Season long right now is gross, and I just lost Debo in one of my leagues too. So it's like I think I'm literally starting JSN or Kadarius Toney is kind of like where I'm at on one of my main leagues. I don't know which. I think I'm going to go with Toney. I'll just ride the higher team total, but I don't know. I kind of like JSN a little bit this week. We'll get into that. 10 games. We got multiple teams on bye. Let's start with weather. I don't think there's anything that bad. Just looks like there's wind in Washington, Buffalo, Detroit. Maybe a little bit of rain in Seattle. That's how it always is there. And then probably the best Sunday night football game we're going to see in quite some time. I think I'm more excited for that, despite I'm very heavy in GPPs this week. And I feel like I still just want to watch Miami Philly. So I'm more excited for that than anything else. Yeah, back to the hat life. I don't know what I was thinking last week. Probably the only live stream I think I've ever done for football, at least. I know in golf, I think I've gone hatless a couple times. But there's more rules in golf than NFL. NFL, you could rock a hat, wear whatever you want into the stadium. I don't know what we're talking about here, Ghost. Let's go to quarterbacks. I'm going to keep this one pretty simple. Mahomes. That's all I'm playing. I'm playing Stafford in cash now because I was going to use the punt of Zach Evans in cash, but it sounds like he's not even like the third string running back right now. So I'm going to Stafford in cash. And I think I'm fine with Stafford in tournaments too, just because, already like assuming a relatively normal workload for those running backs, whoever it may be, name agnostic. I had Stafford second on the slate in pass attempts. Now just using kind of common sense, assuming they don't run hardly, I don't know. What do you think? 15 to 18 carries max for this team?
I think it might even be less.
He's going to throw the ball 45 times. So for cash, I think that's great. For tournaments, I still think that's great. It's a very condensed target share. It's going to Puka. It's going to Cooper Kupp. I think with more running, I think that, or less running, I think Tyler Higbee kind of opens up as a little bit of a GPP value. But I'm keeping it simple. It is Patrick Mahomes or Matthew Stafford. That is it. I have no love for Jordan Love, who's relatively popular. I'm not going to talk you off him if he is your guy right now in lineups, but Geno Smith as the most highly owned quarterback against an Arizona team that has a hard time scoring 14 points just doesn't interest me at all. I think it's fine for cash. You're hoping for, 18, 20 points at that price tag at $6K. I don't think there's anybody besides Matthew Stafford and Patrick Mahomes. Maybe, Justin Herbert, of course, who can get 30 plus points. And that's what we want from the quarterback position.
I think the only two guys that I'll throw in there, other than the ones that you named, priced right under Matt Stafford on DraftKings, is Jared Goff. So with everybody focusing on their season-long lineups with the number of running backs that have been injured in the last couple of weeks, it's tough. But with that comes an increase in pass attempts for many of these quarterbacks, right? And this is a really underappreciated matchup this week. It's going to be a heavyweight tilt here between this Baltimore defense and a Detroit offense that just hasn't gotten the appreciation that they deserve through 6 weeks of the season. Here, heading into week 7, they are in contention to be a top 5 offense in the league right now, you could say. So Jared Goff has been absolutely slinging it between the hashes, which I love. Allen St. Brown is absolutely unbelievable off the line. And it's going to be a really, really good matchup between two tight ends and Mark Andrews and Sam Laporta as well, right? So for me, I'm looking at a game that has sneaky shootout appeal. And as much as Baltimore likes to run the football, they don't have a workhorse back. It's Lamar Jackson running the football. And I think this game has very sneaky shootout appeal. So I will mention Jared Goff in that Matthew Stafford conversation. No David Montgomery taking 46 carries after the first quarter. It's going to be Goff slinging it. I absolutely love that. And the other guy, you mentioned the weather concern a little bit here, but Sam Howell can get it done with his legs as well. 5,500 on DK, you get a rushing quarterback with Curtis Samuel in the flat, where if the conditions do get a little bit out of control, they have those route trees to be able to still put up a decent amount of points on offense. And you get some excellent wide receivers to pair him with that we'll talk about when we get to that position. But those are my two guys that I'm looking outside of the ones that you mentioned.
Rock on. All right, let's get to a couple questions. As always, guys, feel free to ask as many questions as you want, especially on a small slate like this. I definitely want to give everybody 45 minutes to an hour. And I think for me, if 10% of the field's playing Mahomes, Ghost, I respect everything you said about Jared Goff. I just think it's Patrick Mahomes, and I don't understand why everybody wouldn't be playing him.
Oh no, for me, it's not Goff over Mahomes. There's still
I get it. Just honorable
price
mention
difference, but yeah, for sure. Like when we're looking at that case for Stafford, I think Jared Goff is a little. I don't want to say a tier below that. It's kind of like a 1A, 1B type situation, but I think Goff throws a ton today. We don't know what Jahmyr Gibbs is going to get out of the backfield. Like I think Detroit really slings it through the air.
All right. I respect it. All right. We did have a question here from Jeff. Good FanDuel wide receiver for 6K or less. What do you have there? I'll take a look as well. Here, let me pull up
Deontay Johnson is 6K flat. If not, if you could get up to Josh Palmer at 6,500, or I'll let you mention him if you're still really high on him. But
Rashee Rice.
Yes, there you go. I was waiting for you. That sentence?
Rashee Rice.
Yeah, Rashee Rice at 56. Would be a guy there as well.
It's coming. It's got to come today. If it doesn't come today, I mean, it comes every week, like just in spurts. He is not. If you read the article today, or this week, I should say, he is number one on the chart in targets per routes ran on this slate, which is absolutely. It's nuts. I would feel like ARSB is higher than him. Cooper Kupp, like, no, when he is running routes, Patrick Mahomes is getting him the football. We have no Justin Watson. We'll get in the receivers in a little bit because I could talk about Rice forever. I know Jay and I talked about him for, 15, 20 minutes on XM last night collectively. But yeah, Patrick Mahomes for me and running backs. All right. So we got a lot going on here. Austin Eckler at the very top, 8,600, is going to be sub 10% owned. Saquon Barkley, same situation, probably less than 5% owned. I think everybody bypasses Saquon Barkley. Not going to say that's a bad decision, but out of those two, do you have any love for either, or are you paying down to, because there are some good values out there. You got Brian Robinson against the Giants, 5,800. You got Isaiah Pacheco that everybody's going to play. I'm in on him too, just getting cheap exposure to that game. One of the only game with a total over 43.5 points. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be, nut chalk down there at 6,300 and 62 on FanDuel. What do you think there? Do you have any love for paying up for running backs, because it looks like the field is not going past Josh Jacobs?
Saquon fits the bill perfectly for my Washington stocks that I was alluding to earlier. It's purely a volume play for me. Coming off those injuries, I was like, man, there's no way he's going to be able to get back to his normal workload, or at least, not 100%. This man got 30 touches. It was absolutely crazy. Every single time it was going to Saquon, whether it be a dump off, he had 24 or 25 carries. It's a matchup that I want to take advantage of at 8,100. It's not off the charts, but it's not overwhelmingly bad either. So it's purely a volume standpoint. I like KC in this game at home. If the script was flipped and they were playing in LA, I would be much higher on Austin Eckler. But this offense worries me on the road at Arrowhead. I don't care who Patrick Mahomes is throwing the ball to. It's a tough situation to walk into that stadium. So for me, that's why I'm a little bit off of Eckler. I think Herbert goes out slinging the ball and looking downfield. I'll take Saquon over Eckler.
Love it. All right. This is an interesting question. So FanDuel season-long lineup, I'm assuming it's like a season-long DFS league. Like you get points every week. Give us a little more detail, Sean, on what that setup is. I'd love to help you out there. Just blindly speaking, like where the ownership is going to be on FanDuel, definitely Walker and Gibbs. So if you're looking at more like a safety cash type of lineup for whatever format this is, those are definitely the top two in terms of ownership and likely safety for their price.
8,800 Walker is steep though, bro.
Is it 8,800 on
It's
FanDuel?
steep. Yeah, he's priced. He's the second highest priced running back on the slate behind Austin
Does
Eckler. He's
does
more
that does
expensive than Saquon.
does anybody have more touchdown equity than he does though? When that kind of matters to me most on FanDuel.
Yeah, I mean, I advocate for that every week, but I don't know. Like I tried building with him and it was really tough.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really good guy as well. Jerome Ford. I know his ownership's going through the roof. Yeah, I mentioned that in the First and Six podcast too. The Colts defensive line is banged up and hasn't played well anyways. And, it's Cleveland's run system. You gotta love that. All right. Ghost, I love paying up for Austin Eckler. He's my priority play of the week.
I could get with it. Talk
I'm
me
all
into it.
for it. If you just look at the prop market, and I'm not saying that they're always right or anything like that. It opened at 4.5 receptions, juice on the under. It's now 4.5, 5.5 at some books. Like he is. I look at him, and me personally, I do not like Austin Eckler. I like running backs that can run the football very effectively. I don't know. There's something about the little guys that always rub me the wrong way. But Austin Eckler, I look at him, and in comparison to Keenan Allen, like Keenan Allen, when's the last time we ever paid $8K for Keenan Allen? It's been 2 to 3 years, hasn't it?
It's been years. We've been playing Keenan
Yeah.
Allen week in, week out, 16, 17, depending on what their playoff situation is, 18, 19 weeks for 3-4 years now. And I
Yeah, but
don't
he was
think I've
always
ever
like,
seen him this expensive on the
it's
slate.
been 7,500 or below on
Yeah.
DraftKings, which is fantastic. Like, because he
Yeah.
is like, he's a death by 1,000 paper cuts type of guy. He's going to get 12 catches, 85, 90 yards. Very good odds of a touchdown too. Like he's the focal point of that offense. He is running the CD Lamb route tree that Kellen Moore had for CD in Dallas. Obviously, like it was pretty much one target and then the tight ends in the red zone, like we've seen with Gerald Everett and our boy Downey Parham. Like it is pretty much the same offense. I look at Eckler as a wide receiver, like a slot wide receiver in terms of the production. Doesn't get a lot of yards, anything like that, but he's going to get you 5, 6, 7 catches as long as KC can score. And the Chargers defense is awful. They should be able to score, as my game script here. He's a wide receiver that gets 10 carries, like that's the floor and goal line work. So to me, it seems like a no-brainer to go Austin Eckler at half the ownership as Keenan Allen. I'm not going to say Keenan Allen's a bad play. I'm just saying, like, looking at in terms of the stock market, like we are paying an absolute premium for Keenan Allen when Austin Eckler is usually a guy that's right around that 9K range on DraftKings. So good value on Eckler. It's still very, pricey. Like you got to tell yourself, is he worth 1,300 more than Bijan Robinson? Is he worth 1,200 more than Josh Jacobs, who's also very active in the passing game for the Raiders? I would say yes, he's probably worth 1,600 more on any given week than Kenneth Walker, but Kenneth Walker's in a smash spot here. But, Kenneth Walker's just very touchdown dependent and big play dependent. He's not really, I don't know. I don't love Kenneth Walker because he doesn't run many routes, but no Zach Charbonnet this week. Really good spot for Kenneth Walker. So a long way of me saying I love Austin Eckler in tournaments. I'm not going to play him in cash. In cash, I think you take those upper tier values in, Josh Jacobs, Kenneth Walker, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Pacheco. Like those four are the only four that I would consider in cash at this time, now that Zach Evans is not going to be a starter. Would you agree with that?
I do. And I'm not disagreeing at any point. It's just more the fact that I think I prefer Eckler on DraftKings, on FanDuel, excuse me, where you touched about that touchdown equity. And Keenan Allen's been scoring a lot this season compared to Keenan Allen standards, right?
Yeah.
So on FanDuel, where we talk about making a lineup where you're trying to get X amount of guys in there that can score a touchdown, you want every single one of your skill position players to be able to score a touchdown on FanDuel, right? Whereas on DraftKings, man, when you're talking about Keenan Allen getting 8, 9, 10 receptions with a 100-yard bonus, it's that's where I worry about playing Eckler over Keenan Allen on DraftKings. That's the only thing.
Okay, I'm with it. Anybody else, like in terms of GPP? I think we just went kind of like the core four to consider. Maybe Brian Robinson and Jerome Ford. Jerome Ford is currently in my cash game lineup on DraftKings because the way I built it, I needed a value running back. I had Zach Evans in there until all the news came that, he may not even see the field. So I did go to Jerome Ford. Anybody else in GPP side of things? So guys like, James Cook's going to be unowned. I don't really have any interest there, but we don't have Damian Harris. Hopefully his neck's okay from that scary injury the other night. Aaron Jones is kind of like, he's still questionable. He's going to play. Do you think let's talk about Aaron Jones real quick. Do you think they let him loose? A.J. Dillon's coming off of a fantastic game against the Raiders, and that they like him in the red zone as well. He's really not – he has not been elusive at all this season. He's been terrible, but it was a really good game against the Raiders, but you could run on the Raiders. You could do anything on the Raiders defense, really. But Denver's the worst defense in the NFL in terms of DVOA, both the pass and the run, I believe they're not last. They are. That's pathetic. Packers are only a 3-point favorite, so it's like, are they not that good? Or is Denver Packers are coming off a bye too? Do you like Aaron Jones? Let's start there. I'm just concerned.
It's a really weird situation for me. The whole Aaron Jones, one of the very few running backs getting paid, and I thought it was going to be a type of situation where Rodgers leaves and they're dumping it off to Aaron Jones. They're running him into the ground. This guy's getting 35 touches a game, and it seems to be the complete opposite. So I thought it was really weird because you see that type of thing where a team is reluctant to want to pay a running back on his second or potentially even third contract, depending on what his individual situation is. But Aaron Jones had absolutely no concern regarding that. He got paid. And the volume has to come. Like, if Green Bay wants to spark this offense, I have a ton of love for Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs. These guys are put into a situation where it's tough. You're following the Jordy Nelsons, the Randall Cobbs, the Devontae Adams, with Rodgers leading. It's a tough situation to follow, but they're doing the best that they can, and they're respectfully holding their own. But you got to run this offense through Aaron Jones if you really want to be successful. So I want to be there for the breakout game. I'm not completely opposed to taking shots. Right now, I have very little to none. But it's gonna come, and at 6,800, that he's I don't like saying poor man's Austin Eckler. It's not really doing anyone justice, but it's the same type. It's the same type of situation, man. Like, you could make the argument it's the same type of situation as what you were saying. What's his floor if he's a full go? We're not talking about snap counts. We're not talking about anything like that. If he's a full go, can you really see him getting below 10 carries and he's running routes all over the place? He's going to catch a couple footballs. Like, the floor is there, but more importantly, the ceiling is really high, man. And nobody's going to play him. Nobody.
I think it's tournaments only for sure. I just look at it, as much as I want to fade a 35 to 40% owned running back in Kenneth Walker, it's like, does Aaron Jones really have a probable path to outscore or match Kenneth Walker? I think with the passing work, yes. But you got to tell yourself he's 100% healthy and he's going to go. So
I think if I'm playing Aaron Jones today, if I'm even for either one of us or anyone listening right now, if I'm playing Aaron Jones, it's actually in a Denver stack running it back. That would be my run back. That's where I'm
playing Russ. You playing Javonte?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We're going to start dialogue about your passion for a Denver offense, but
they're going to break out soon.
If you're soon, I guess we will revisit this conversation in week 16 and 17. But look, if I'm playing Aaron Jones, it's in that type of situation where Denver's because the whole point of that is it doesn't really make sense either. You mentioned Geno Smith and Kenneth Walker, and Geno's chalky, so is Kenneth. And then you're talking about Jordan Love being chalky, but Aaron Jones isn't, and that would be a leverage spot. Whereas for me, it's Kenneth Walker's heavy chalk, but so is Geno. It's like there's no real win-win type of situation.
There's no leverage at all there.
No, there's zero. Either way, you're getting extreme chalk. So for me, the leverage would be more so with Green Bay, where Russ is actually putting in a half decent football game, hopefully to Jerry Jeudy, but it's most likely to Courtland Sutton or whichever.
I think Jerry Judy's on the way out. Will Jordan Humphrey's active this week? I don't know. I just think Judy's dust. Dude, Russ. All right, so you heard it here by Ghost. He was talking in circles to say that Russ is his GPP quarterback of the week, and I love that. 1% owned Russ. Give me that.
I think I'd rather not roster a quarterback.
That's silly.
I think I'd rather not roster a quarterback to avoid the potential negative points.
Oh, negative points. He's going to rush for 40 yards, throw for 350.
Fumble 3 times.
He may be the best player on this slate now. I love that you said that. All right, punt running backs. I like Ramondre Stevenson, 5,600. 5.5 catches against the Patriots per game last year. I know that's a very small sample size, but Looking at Vegas here, they are anticipating a very, very, very slow game in New England. We all know what New England tried to do. It was like 60-mile-an-hour winds, so when they played at Buffalo and ran it like 75 times. I think that's a recipe for success for New England. I don't know if they're going to be able to generate a lot of first downs. It sounds like Hunter Henry is going to be good to go. We know if he was out, I think that hurts this running game because Mike Gesicki just doesn't block and can't really block. You have any love for Ramondre Stevenson at no ownership? I'm not even going to mention Javonte Williams. You won't let me. And then Jerome Ford, Rachaad White. You like any of those guys? I know Rachaad White's garnering a little bit of ownership. I think projections are way off on him. No one's going to play Rachaad White when Jerome Ford's sitting at the same price. You like anything even like Jaleel McLaughlin. You like anybody in the 5K range on DraftKings?
You're welcome for not letting you mention Javonte Williams. That's doing you a favor. But
you already said play Russ, so I will get a Russ lineup.
We're not playing Russ, man.
I'm gonna. Now that you said it.
We're gonna build a Russ lineup together. We're gonna enter it in some contest. We're doing it after the show. But out of all the names that you threw out there, Rachaad White would probably be my guy. Home running back against an Atlanta offense that I have absolutely zero respect for. I think it's gonna be Rachaad White.
Okay.
The upside's there. I like Rachaad White.
Let this guy in here. I love that. Theo. Love the picture. Let's go. TB12. All right. Jerome Ford, I think, is cash viable. I don't really have any interest in tournaments anymore. I thought he'd go way under the radar. Ownership projections say that is not the case. And then Ramondre Stevenson would be a GPP only type of play. Let's go to wide receivers, see if there's any other questions in the chat here. Talk about the Lamar stack. I'm not really into Lamar at all. I respect Detroit's defense. I really like Mark Andrews. We'll get into his spot, but no, I don't think Lamar does it for me. You like Lamar at all?
And no, I'm on the other side of that game.
Yeah, I just think you're so close to Patrick Mahomes' price when you're playing Lamar Jackson. Doesn't make any sense to go to.
For Lamar to be in contention with Mahomes, he's got to be running for 100 yards and scoring a touchdown himself. I actually don't want to stack him with anyone. If I'm playing a Lamar ceiling game, I'm going Lamar and double stacking it the other way with like Laporta and ARSB. That would be the approach that I would take to a Lamar lineup.
I would play Mark Andrews just because no one's going to play him. They're all playing Zay Flowers. Let's start at wide receivers, 9,500 Cooper Kupp. Lock him in if you can afford him, right? Just move on. We don't need to talk about Cooper Kupp, do we?
Yeah.
All right.
Next question.
Yeah. He is in my cash game lineup. In tournaments, I can't afford him. And this reminds me of like the last 4 years of DFS is every single Sunday, my tournament lineups that are afternoon heavy are also sweating all the Cooper Kupp chalk out there that just comes to kill me time and time again. I'm going back to the well and fading him in tournaments just because I can't afford him. Not telling you guys to do that. If you can afford him, by all means, do it. We talked about Keenan Allen already at 8,600. Stephon Diggs right there in the middle, 8,900. Kind of been a Patriots killer throughout his career. We know the Patriots secondary does not really have the personnel to stop Stephon Diggs, but they shut down Devontae Adams last week. The bracket coverage was everywhere. And I think that's certainly going to be the game plan against Buffalo because, at least like Las Vegas has Jacoby Myers. Gabe Davis is okay. I think he's more of like he's got one or two routes in the bag that he runs really well. That's a go route and is a little stop and go. So it's like I'd rather let Gabe Davis try to beat me one-on-one if I'm Belichick, but Stephon Diggs is a different type of route runner than Devontae Adams. I'm not going to say he's a better route runner. They're both just magicians at what they do, but Stephon Diggs a little quicker, can get the deep ball. Do you think that Stephon Diggs is a good play this week?
I'm torn, man. New England's been week in, week out, really shutting down wide receiver runs, but this is the best route runner in the league, in my opinion. I'll die on that hill. Josh Allen will find a way to get him the ball. I just don't think that at 8,900, I can't get there. I'll play the price game. It's more so does he have a good game? Yeah. By his standards, no. Yeah, he'll always have a good game. By his standards, is it going to be an explosive game? I'll put it that way. No. That's my stance on Stephon Diggs.
Love it. All right. Let's go to Amon-Ra St. Brown. Yeah, I'm assuming you like him a ton if you're in your golf lineups. Yep.
Love.
So my concern with Amon-Ra is Baltimore plays a ton of cover one man, and that's
it's going to be a sick matchup, man. I'm telling you. It's going to be a great matchup.
I mean, he's awesome.
Two teams going toe-to-toe, and what Detroit does amazingly well on the offensive side of the ball is exactly what Baltimore is able to counter with what they do amazingly well on the defensive side of the football.
I don't think Amon-Ra's worth the price at 8K, but he's Amon-Ra. All right, 7K range, kind of a dead zone. Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, you have any interest in them? I think Puka's a very good play if you're going to double stack Stafford. I think we're just going to move on. We don't need to talk about Puka either. The guy's going to get 8 to 10 targets, and he is very effective with those targets. Any love for Mike Evans or Godwin? I'm assuming no and no, not at those prices.
No. What's the floor of this price bracket, the range that you're talking about?
Our boy's back, and I love it. I think that game goes well under
for all of your paving and concrete needs.
Let's
the
go.
GOAT.
The GOAT is back. DK Metcalf, 6,800. Any love for him? Sounds like he's going to go. I know they said game time decision. Everything that I saw on Twitter seems like he expects to play. Are you worried about his injury status or anything like that? Like, I look at DK Metcalf as, someone like Mike Evans, like a guy that can go for 180 yards, 2 or 3 touchdowns in the blink of an eye, like Mike Evans has.
Or 3 for 34.
Yeah, just because I think the only reason that he would ever go for that low floor of a game is because Arizona doesn't do anything on offense. Seattle's defense is starting to click a little bit. Do you have any love for DK Metcalf?
No, I'm going back to JSN again last week. At 3,500, the 9 DK was still good, almost 3x. Yeah. But we were one big play away where Gino overthrew him for a 40-yard touchdown.
He started to stretch the field a little bit.
His 8
out wasn't negative last week, which has literally been everything to JSN this year has been in the flats, and it's been like, what are you doing? This guy's supposed to be a route runner like, Stephon Diggs, fast, has great hands, and all they do is just throw him little wide receiver screens all damn year. So sounds like I do like him this week a little bit, just for the price.
Yeah.
Okay. DJ Moore. Jay and I talked about him a lot last night. Jay's on the ladder bet, 6,500. No one's going to play DJ Moore. Do you have we don't know anything really about Badgett, but what I think should happen and what he kind of did last week, he had tunnel vision for his ex, which is going to be DJ Moore. And the same reason we talked about Kendrick Bourne last week against the Vegas Raiders, you could throw all over him. The issue is, can Badgett throw the football? We'll see, but I think DJ Moore gets 14, 15 targets because I don't know how the Bears stop the Vegas Raiders. Brian Hoyer, I don't think it matters. He's a comparable quarterback. He's played, with McDaniel's system for quite some time. He used to play in Chicago a little bit too. I think the Bears are chasing points all day long. DJ Moore is a lock for 12 plus targets.
I'm not touching that game. I had to X out a couple games, and that was one of them.
Okay, that's fair. You can't play everybody. I think that Jay was on.
I had to make calls, and there's 2 guys. There's 2 guys that I really like in that 6K range. That's why I had to make calls. Who do you like? Tyler Lockett, Gabe Davis.
Oh, Gabe Davis.
I do.
Okay.
I like Gabe Davis on a deep ball, and with Stephon Diggs taking up the middle of the field and running a ton of cross seamers, I like Gabe to score on a deep ball today.
Dude, I talked about that on the First and Six podcast right when I was doing it. Gabe Davis player prop came out live, I think, while I was recording the podcast. It was 32 yards, and I looked at my numbers. Let's see what I got projected for Gabe Davis. I have him at 46. So I mentioned it live. It's like, this is one of the biggest perceived edges that I could see with the eye, and didn't make the bet. And now he's at 40 yards, which I only have a 6-yard difference. I'm not ever going to bet that. That was frustrating. I should have hit that one. I hate betting that many overs. My whole card this week is overs, and you're just on the wrong side.
Always the over. Life's too short to play unders. It's always the over.
If I like a good edge on an under, because you got the injury variance on your side too. So yeah.
Wait for NBA when people get injured 2 minutes into the game and you take unders.
There you go. All right. Zay Flowers, 5,700. I'm seeing 18% ownership. What are your thoughts on Zay Flowers and Christian Watson right there, 5,600?
I haven't clicked Zay Flowers' name once this week, and I don't plan on changing that.
I'm out. I think this matchup, Detroit plays nothing but zone. They do not blitz. I think the openings of the field, and Zay Flowers can do that too. I think he gets, his 5 for 60, 11 points at 5,700, and that ownership is not for me. When the red zone guy is Mark Andrews and a zone killer that Mark Andrews is, I think Mark Andrews is the guy for Baltimore this week. Christian Watson
is right there at 5,400.
That's okay. I love Terry. Terry is in my main lineup. We went with a nasty swap on live on the radio yesterday with Jay. It was either Hollywood Brown for me in my main lineup or Terry McLaurin. Would you
Terry
still lean
McLaurin.
Terry? Okay.
Terry McLaurin. I would
I'm
not
with
have
you
let you
too.
submit that lineup with Hollywood
So,
over McLaurin.
like Hollywood gets 10 targets a game. It's awesome, but that offense just sucks, and he doesn't really get a whole lot of just production in general. And Seattle's defense, I think, starting to click a little bit. He's not going to like see Witherspoon all day long, but the rookie out of Illinois is fucking awesome. Pardon my language, but he is a stud. Christian Watson chalk, I think, is a waste of time. I mean, he's a deep ball or nothing. He's going to see a lot of Patrick Surtain, but when he gets Mathis in coverage, I think they'll certainly target him. I just have a tough time handicapping this Packers offense when they have so many, they have a lot of weapons. So it's like, can Jordan Love be comparable or be competent? That's the word I'm looking at. Skipped Coop. Yeah, we did skip Cooper. Do you like Amari Cooper? I have him in a couple GPP lineups. Deshaun Watson, I want to see how he goes, but there's no ownership in Amari Cooper. And right here behind my computer screen is like all my little posted notes. And it says, always look at cheap wide receiver ones and plus matchups. And I wrote those names down, who those guys
That's
are.
Terry McLaurin.
It is Terry McLaurin and Amari
Terry
Cooper.
Terry McLaurin.
I like Amari Cooper a ton too.
Terry McLaurin.
But it's like, yeah, Terry McLaurin's 7K less, but he's going to have twice the ownership. But Amari Cooper in a dome against the exterior secondary of the Colts is a fantastic matchup. Do you think Watson's good to go? Like my concern with Coop, Isaiah, I'm glad you brought it up, is we talked about this on XM. This total keeps going down. I know it went up a point when Deshaun Watson got ruled in, but that was it, like only a point, and then it got bet down again. I think that Vegas is thinking this game is going to be incredibly slow, and Cleveland, like someone knows that Deshaun Watson must not be close to 100%, and they're going to run the living shit out of the ball because the props for Jerome Ford are very respectable. The props for Kareem Hunt, I think, are like in the mid-30s. To me, it seems like they're screaming this is a 40 attempt rushing game, if not more, for Cleveland, which to me kind of takes Amari Cooper out for 6,100, but that's still cheap enough. Like that guy can get 20 points, even in a slow game. So he's got to score a touchdown. That's when I, put my ghost hat on and said, Terry McLaurin, they throw the ball way more. Washington's passing rate over expectation, I believe, is top 5. And they are top 5, I believe, in pass attempts per game. And the Giants secondary is awful. So I feel like, and Terry McLaurin, I just feel like, I don't know, he's good. I like Terry. And 5,400 for Terry is just kind of stupid.
It's a crime. It's a crime.
It's a crime. All right. Anybody else in this 5K range you like?
Are we going right below 5K?
Yeah, we'll go below 5K right after this. So like Drake London, Sutton, Hollywood. I think Hollywood's a lock in cash games.
I don't mind taking a shot on Deontay in a Rams. Like when I built my Stafford double stack lineups, I played both Cooper Kupp and Puka, and I ran it back with Deontay Johnson. I'm not really worried coming off the IR. At 5K, that's a PPR gold standard right there. I like that.
Curtis Samuel greater than Scary Terry.
Absolutely not. I will not stand.
Here you go. The Giants defense play single man or single high cover 1. That is advantage Terry McLaurin. They play cover 3 when they're not playing cover 1 man, advantage Terry McLaurin, and they blitz the living shit of opposing teams. Advantage your hot route guy, your X, Terry McLaurin. So my notes on that coverage, it is Terry, and Terry. And very rarely, looking at my notes, I don't think I have the same guy written 3 times. Actually, I do. One other matchup. I have the same guys written against all 3 coverages that we'll see, and that is Rashee Rice, Travis Kelce, going down the list against the Chargers. The only other name that's there 3 times is Terry McLaurin. So, yeah, let's go. Let's go, Terry. All right. Anybody in the 4K range? So Josh Palmer, lock him in for cash games. I have him in tournaments just because I need it, but my breakout play of the week is $4,700, Rashee Rice. So Chargers run a shit ton of cover 2, and then they'll play cover 1. That is advantage Rashee Rice, Travis Kelce, Rashee Rice, Travis Kelce, and a decent blitz rate. That is Rashee Rice, Travis Kelce.
I'm with it. Rice Palmer. And I'll go a little bit lower than the 4K range. I'll go sub 4K. I'm going right back to the JSN train. Wan'Dale Robinson at 3,800 fit well. If I can't run back my Washington lineups with Saquon, I ran it back with Wan'Dale, and then that allows me to pay up for Austin Eckler, Travis Kelce, etc. So I could get big time playmakers in that key game of the slate, which is something that I really like doing. And I don't think I have anybody else worthy of mentioning sub 4K. It's a lot of JSN and a lot of Wan'Dale Robinson.
Wan'Dale Robinson's 15% owned right now. He's going to get 8 targets, though, so I get it. I just worry about his ceiling.
The ceiling's not there, but I made peace with that before I clicked his name to put him in my lineups. Like that was hey, I want to go nuts with KC Chargers without having to pay up for Mahomes or Herbert. And
sure.
With going Washington double stack, I don't want to give away the whole farm there, but you could go Howell, McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, or just Howell, McLaurin with another value wide receiver. And you run it back with Wan'Dale Robinson, and that allows you to pick your poison. You could get 2 of Pacheco, Kelsey, and then like 1 on each side. So you get Pacheco or Kelsey with Keenan Allen or Eckler, and that's pretty sick. Let alone if you add Rashee Rice to that.
Any love for Romeo Doubs, 4,900?
Yeah, a ton. I mean, if you're playing Jordan Love, we don't want to talk you guys off of playing anybody on Slate, but if Jordan Love is going to be your guy at the quarterback position, yeah, I wouldn't have a Jordan Love lineup without Romeo Doubs. The leverage is absolutely massive with everybody playing Christian Watson. And realistically, what routes do Christian Watson run that Romeo Doubs can't run? It's Christian Watson's a deep ball threat.
60-yard touchdown,
but
I think, is more likely to go to Christian Watson, but he's also going to see way more Surtain.
Absolutely. And that's something where they throw a blanket safety over him and his route tree gets instantly limited. Whereas Romeo Doubs more of that guy that can find the open space for Jordan Love. So
yep. And Denver's going to play cover 3 and cover 2 zone. That is advantage Romeo Doubs for sure. All right, tight ends. To Kelsey or not to Kelsey? Pretty damn expensive. I'll never talk you off of them, but I think my favorite tight end, just for the savings and the coverage advantages, and Kelsey's going to have a coverage advantage every single game. Like his targets per route ran, it's actually number 2 on the slate. So the top 2 in targets per routes ran are Rashee Rice and Travis Kelce. So if you're stacking Mahomes, you obviously know the ball's going to those 2. But Mark Andrews at 5,700 in what should be a relatively windy game. So maybe no deep balls or lack of deep balls. And then Detroit just playing nothing but zone. I think Mark Andrews absolutely kills them. I like him a ton. And then it's that or you just flat out punt. Like Kyle Pitts, I wish he was back in the 3K. I like that matchup for Kyle Pitts a lot. Jonnu Smith, I'm not going to talk you off him. I know it's been Brian pretty much talking about Jonnu Smith. Like they're on the field all the time. Kyle Pitts at this point is pretty much a wide receiver. So if you just look at Kyle Pitts as like a cheap wide receiver at 4K, makes a ton of sense. Tampa Bay runs pretty much nothing but cover 3. So that should be an advantage to the guys in the slot, which Kyle Pitts is pretty much a slot receiver. So I like him. And Jonnu Smith's fine. Do you have any love going back to Logan Thomas with how you feel about Sam Howell being like a punt GPP quarterback?
Yeah.
Logan was big time chalk last week and let everybody down, myself included. I ate it because I'm an idiot, but I needed that little back and forth. So I went Drake London and Logan Thomas mini stacks. Drake London was awesome. Logan Thomas sucked. I think it's a good spot to go back to him.
Yeah, in spots where you'll actually really like this. In spots where I didn't want to play Curtis Samuel because I don't like playing slot wide receivers that just run drag routes and bubble screens and
touchdown dependent. The yards aren't going to be.
I can't stand it, right? So I went to Logan Thomas, and then that allowed me to get Rashee Rice, Wan'Dale Robinson, paying up for Keenan Allen, paying up for Cooper Kupp, and like it opens up the world when you don't play Travis Kelce at tight end. So it's really gross, and you guys will hear us say this week in and week out probably. But double tight end lineups are really, really gross just in general. But this week, if your double tight end includes Travis Kelce, that's fine. That's like you're getting a wide receiver.
He's a wide receiver. Yep.
He's a wide receiver 1 at 8K. If you're playing double tight end, like I found myself in that kind of spot where I was playing Sam Laporta and I was like, oh, I'm in this 8K range, and Kelce fits the bill pretty well there. So.
Yep. And my main tight end, and he is in the GPP core, is Trey McBride. I'll talk about him in a minute. It is gross, but Luke Musgrave is your cash game tight end on DraftKings if you're not playing Kelce. I think the only 2 in consideration for cash. I guess maybe you could play Kyle Pitts. He's relatively cheap and look at him like a wide receiver, so that's solid. I'm kind of in between Pitts, Logan Thomas and Musgrave right now. I may just eat the chalk in Musgrave. I have no interest in Zach Ertz. His snap rate continues to go down over the last 2 weeks, and he just can't do anything outside of the red zone. That's the downside in Trey McBride, is Zach Ertz is going to run more routes in the red zone. But it looks like the ownership on Michael Mayer, 2,700, is going up. His workload is going through the roof the past couple weeks as well. I think they're just finally getting rid of Austin Hooper or using Hooper just to block. Michael Mayer is going to run a ton of routes. But my issue here with Mayer, I think like his floor could be nothing because they have Devontae Adams, they have Jacoby Myers, they have Josh Jacobs. Like they have 3 guys that demand the football, will get the football a lot, and we have a team in Chicago that probably doesn't score much, if at all. I don't see this being a game for Michael Mayer. Yep. I don't see this being a game for Michael Mayer. I think we want to play Mayer. Sure, he can get a touchdown. He is running routes in the red zone. But any tight end can get a touchdown. So it's like I'm not going to project a touchdown for him, but I think if you play him, that's what you're hoping for. There's just so many more mouths to feed on that offense. I'd rather play Michael Mayer in the coming weeks where they're like, a 7-point dog and they have to throw the football a lot in terms of the game script. So I'm going to go down to Trey McBride, 2,600. This guy is the best pass catcher on the Arizona team. I think, in terms of matchup wise, Seattle is 31st, I believe, in DVOA against a tight end. And on my notes right here, it says always consider a tight end against Seattle. It's not going to be Zach Ertz for me just because I need the savings. Trey McBride is my GPP tight end this week in my main lineup. And I look at it this way, like other than Hollywood Brown, who do they have on that team that demands the football? Like Rondale Moore is going to do his little gadget stuff. It is what it is. But assuming Seattle kicks the living shit out of them, which looking at the point spread, looking at Arizona's defense lately, I don't see how they get many stops. They're going to have to throw the ball a ton. Sure, that's great for Hollywood Brown, but the ownership on Hollywood Brown is through the roof. And we talked about Seattle secondary getting much better week after week. I think they have to lean on guys like Zach Ertz and Trey McBride. So 2,600, I think Trey McBride has a much higher floor. I think he gets 4 or 5 catches. And his player props are actually right there with Michael Mayer. I think he's actually got 2 or 3 yards higher than Mayer on the props. And this is a guy that will literally be 0% owned. So Trey McBride is my GPP tight end if you're getting that gross with it. I'm not advising you do that, but I'm just letting you know what I'm doing because the rest of my lineup is more pay up style. So I'm playing Trey McBride. And then, honorable mention, Connor Haywood. That's a pretty sharp call by Jason here. My concern there is him and Washington run routes. So it's like, I don't know. But so does Ertz and McBride. But McBride played a lot in the 11 format. So 1 tight end sets last week. He was in a lot. And he's a coverage nightmare. He's a beast. We saw him come on at the end of last year. He's big. He's fast. He's a good pass catcher. Anybody else in tight ends like Dawson Knox, seeing 5% ownership on him. You have any love for Dawson Knox? They're going to run a lot of Kincaid too. It is a good matchup against New England. You have any love for those guys?
If you're pretty much, I don't want to say anyone because you made a case for Trey McBride, but any one of these tight ends, they're going to be touchdown dependent, right? We're talking about the Parms of the Slate, K-Dons, and anybody that you're looking down in that range. Dawson Knox fits that bill, right? Like it's just no pun intended, but that's what it is. Dawson Knox at 2.9, would you be shocked if Dawson Knox scored a touchdown? Like they do look his way, right? Josh Allen's obviously the highest red zone equity that team will ever have as long as he's under center. But at the same time, that's what you're hoping for when you're playing a sub 3K tight end. Like for me, it's like I saw Connor Hayward mentioned and all these other guys. Dawson Knox is on one of the best offenses in the league, and he will be on the field inside the 10 and inside the 20. So for me, I'm not completely opposed to it, but I find it very, very difficult to not go with one of Mark Andrews or Sam Laporta on a Travis Kelce slate. It would be so much harder if Travis Kelce was not on the slate because these guys' ownership would be through the roof.
Yep.
But 5.7 Mark Andrews and 5.3 Sam Laporta on DraftKings, both of those guys should be 6.5 and up.
Yeah, Laporta's a beast.
Like that's just the reality. I'm really high on this Detroit aerial attack today. And Mark Andrews is the perfect run back. And I know Brian's going to appreciate this. It's the double tight end lineup. But again, Mark Andrews is a wide receiver one. Same kind of situation with Travis Kelce. They're way too cheap, man. They're way too cheap.
I dig it. All right, defense. Any strong takes? Prasant's asking here, Chiefs or Ravens? Right now, my lineup has the Ravens. Just something about me doesn't respect Jared Goff as much as I should. That offense kind of puts him in a position to succeed.
Don't do that to me.
Chiefs defense is going to be very popular. I'm okay if you had to punt down to the Patriots. Their defense sucks, though. But dude, I'm playing the Ravens defense. I have to. I don't really. My lineup has too many charges in it to play the Chiefs, and I can't afford. I like the Falcons. I'm okay with the Lions at 2,700. Defense, I kind of don't really care. Seahawks, though, I think the Seahawks are probably the best points per dollar. Them or the Browns at 3,300, 3,200. I'd rather have those. I just can't afford them. Any strong takes on defense, or should we do a recap and get out of here?
I absolutely hate playing defenses. Everyone knows this, but I have a decent amount of the Bears at 2,900.
Oh, dude, Hoyer doesn't turn the ball over.
Your Chicago Bears.
I don't like the Bears at all, but
I don't like that game. It's so gross.
I feel like the Falcons are a much better turnover.
There's going to be so many punts.
The Bears don't have Eddie Jackson's out.
So many punts in that game. It's 2023. I'm not giving Brian Hoyer any respect. It's not happening.
I mean, he's going to be a game manager. They're not going to turn the ball over.
Well,
so I don't know where your points are coming from.
They have two of them. They have two of them in Jimmy Garoppolo too. He's just a better Brian Hoyer.
I'd rather play someone that slings it and fucks up.
Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't sling anything.
Garoppolo doesn't. So don't play the Bears D against him.
Look, Jimmy Garoppolo isn't playing, so it's perfect.
Hoyer's not going to sling it around. They're going to protect the football. I think that's just go with the Falcons, man. If you got the money, way less ownership on the Falcons, they can get pick sixes on Baker.
No, I'm rooting for Baker this year. I'm rooting for Baker. He's got that locker room fired up.
You're biased. You're being biased with your life.
100%. That's like you playing Javonte Williams.
I was going to say I should get
when he goes 8 carries for 26 yards and a fumble, and you go back to him. We each have our biases, and that's okay.
He's due is how I look at it. The Bears defense.
We're 7 weeks overdue now. It doesn't work.
Coming off a knee injury. You let him get his legs under him. Jeez. All right, quarterback.
7 weeks.
GPP, who's your guy?
You go first. You take your guys. You have strong stances on this slate. So I'm go first.
Patrick Mahomes, GPP, Patrick Mahomes, cash. Next question.
Okay.
Well, I'll play Stafford in cash, but
I was
recommendation would be Mahomes.
I'll go Stafford in cash, and I'm going Goff and Sam Howell in tournaments.
Jeez. Running backs. Upper echelon, GPP, I'm going Austin Eckler. Mid-tier GPP, I will go Ramondre Stevenson. Cash, we are going Kenneth Walker and Isaiah Pacheco, I think for sure.
Yeah, I have the same running back duo in cash. Honorable mention, keep an eye on this. Obviously, there's still just over an hour till opening kickoff, but Ford's ownership has been skyrocketing while we've been on the show.
He's in my
here.
cash lineup,
so yeah, so just keep an eye on that. I guess I'll say as a potential third running back, or for those on FanDuel, that would be perfect because you do need to play 3 running backs in cash on FanDuel. But I do have Pacheco and Walker in cash. Upper echelon tournaments, I see your Eckler, and I raise you a Saquon Barkley. Mid-tier.
What about Bijan? I feel like we didn't talk about Bijan much.
I don't want to talk about the Falcons. Let's not do this.
The Falcons have been putting up fantasy points, man.
I don't want to talk about the Falcons.
I've been right on that side of things. Denver hasn't worked out.
Last week,
Atlanta's been working.
I said that I'd give you heat if Drake London didn't show up. So I know I didn't say this part, but I will go out of my way to say that was a great call on Drake London last week. So because I would have roasted you if you didn't have a good game. I would not have held back on that one.
I expect you not to.
But at the same time, I'll give credit where credit is due. That was a good game. Mid-tier, we didn't really talk about this guy all that much, but it kind of suits my Washington love today. Brian Robinson at 5,800 is really intriguing.
Okay. And then honorable mention, Jahmyr Gibbs. Ownership's going to be through the roof. I think on FanDuel, you just take it, right? 6,200. He's cheaper on FanDuel than he is on DraftKings, which is
I have trauma from not playing A-Chain when I'm not saying it's gonna happen the exact same way that it happened for A-Chain. The Lions don't have Mike McDaniel calling plays for them, and Gibbs is
they don't have the
speed as A-Chain. Yeah. They don't have the personnel, and A-Chain's just way too fast. But in the back of my mind when I was completely fading Jahmyr Gibbs. So I'm definitely under the field, but yeah, you have to eat it on FanDuel.
Respect. All right. Wide receivers, Cooper Kupp, we don't need to mention. If you guys can afford him, you play him. I like up tops Devontae Adams. I like a ton in tournaments. Just worry about Chicago pushing the pace, but I think Adams is a very, very high floor this week against Tyreek Stevenson and Kyler Gordon. I think Jalen Johnson may be back too, but none of those guys can cover, and they had no safety help with Eddie Jackson out. My favorite receiver play this week, I really am coming on to Terry McLaurin and then Rashee Rice. In cash, you play Palmer, though, no doubt. You play Palmer and Kupp.
Yeah,
in cash.
so that's what I was going to mention. I'll give 2 out of 3. My wide receivers in cash, Kupp and Palmer. Tournaments at the top, I'm going Keenan Allen. In the mid-range, Keenan Allen and ARSB. And in the mid-range, Tyler Lockett and Gabe Davis. And in the punt range, we don't really talk about him all that much, depending on what his ownership is. If it's around 5%, Josh Downs, Gardner Minshew absolutely loves that guy. Josh Downs at 4,500, JSN at 39, and Wan'Dale Robinson at 38.
Tight ends. I'm going for cash. I guess Musgrave or Pitts, I think, is really all I can afford, or Logan Thomas. Favorite tight end, though, on the slate would be Mark Andrews. Obviously, if you can afford Kelsey, play him. You don't need us to tell you that. But my GBP punt of the week, Trey McBride.
Cash, I'm going Musgrave. Tournaments, Laporta, Andrews, end of list.
Love it. All right. Any other questions? We'll give it a minute here. Defense, I think you kind of I think Seattle or the Bucks eat.
In cash, you're talking about?
Logan Thomas is dead to me. Dude, that's how I feel about last week. Are we getting a Russ lineup in or what?
We're going to build one together. We're building one together. We're going to submit it. We're going to find a contest that's still open, and we're going to build one together.
All right, deal. All right, guys.
We're running it back with Romeo Doubs or Aaron Jones.
Let's go both.
All
right.
Can't wait for that game to finish 7-3.
Season, Gus or pick up Hendo? Go Gus. At least Gus. he's getting 12 touches. We do not know what Henderson.
I'm not playing any Rams running back this week, but so I'm not recommending playing any of them because I will not do so. I refuse to do so. But I do think Hendo gets the nod. He knows that offense really well, and I just think that's the way things shake out.
All right, Brian, what's the punt? Yeah, McCole. I went the whole show without mentioning McCole Hardman. I just don't think he gets a lot of run his first week back. He's going to know the offense, but Bieniemy's gone too, so it's a little bit different. And I don't like the gadget routes are going to Kadarius Toney. So my play on McCole Hardman is see if you could find a rushing prop for him at 0.5 yards. He'll take a jet sweep for 1 or 2, no doubt. So other than that, no, it is Rashee Rice coming out party. Good luck to everybody. Thanks for the support. Like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Enjoy the slate that is relatively gross. Have a great day. Enjoy the weather. The fall weather, it's starting to get very nice here in Chicago for a little bit, and then it'll turn to hell in probably 2 or 3 weeks. And Brian, whatever bet you want to make, he does not outscore Rashee Rice. Give me the bet against Rashee Rice. And
he might not even outscore Noah Gray.
Yeah, there you go. I'll take Tony over him because like taking Rashee Rice in that bet is a coward move by me because he's already got a receiving prop in like the 40s, so it's not very fair. But put it in Discord what our gentleman's bet is, not money. Let's do something funny. And DM me. There we go. All right. Ghost will take Noah Gray over Hardman.
I'll take Noah Gray.
I'll take out. This is better. I will take Rashee Rice, DraftKings fantasy points -5.5 over McCole Hardman. You let me know what the stakes are.
Why am I taking Noah Gray and you're getting a 5.5 line at -600 odds?
We'll see him in Discord. Guys, see you guys.